Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Canal Days, What Life Was Like in the Industrial Connecticut River Valley of Massachusetts. I'm your host, Carrie, and joining us today is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Camus. He personally offers and leads public and private tours, as well as presentations of historical sites within communities throughout the state of Massachusetts. Currently, the communities he has chosen to focus on this year are Holyoke, Chicopee, South Hadley, and East Hampton, and also Granby and Amherst as well. His tours spotlight the local canals, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks, streets, and selected historical houses within each community. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the Bowe School and Park, located in Chicopee, Mass. So, what is the history of the Bowe School?
The school opened up for good in 1925 on May 15th. That means since this year, 2024, next year is the centenary of the school. And that's wonderful that a school can not only be or exist still after 100 years, but that it's still operational as a school, as a public school. And most schools around the valley are either gone after 100 years, or they sold them off to another organization, or they're disused or changed over to housing. But this one still goes, and that's wonderful. Now, the Chicopee Public Library has on its website a scrapbook called the Patrick Bowe Nursery School Scrapbook, and it's a collection of pictures that are from the Bowe School from the mid-1930s. And it's great to use. I have a link on my website so you can see this, and you can see all the children around the area. A lot of them look like nursery school kids because that's what the scrapbook was about at that point. And so the Bowe School was built, started in 1924 and finished in 1925, and it's located on Hampton Street. And today we're going to talk about the back of the school, then the front schoolyard, and then what has been added to the school at one time. And this was the second elementary school within the center of Chicopee, and that's because it was growing so large in population. More mill workers were coming in. You have big families, and they really need this. And it was named after a man named Patrick Bowe, who was born and raised and died in Chicopee. And he was on the school committee from 1888 to 1910. That's 22 years on that committee. And they named it after him. He died the year, he was still on the committee, and he had given so much to the city. He had started out working for the city, but then moved over to Ames Manufacturing Company there, and he stayed for a while, and he also operated a grocery store on Center Street. So it'd be nice if you look at all these pictures. You might recognize some people that you know, either they're your great-grandparents or your grandparents, so forth. So give it a try.
And what is the back of the school like?
Well, the back of the school is the most unique thing about the school because they have a large play area of greenery, but then they also have a big playground set, and then it's a mural-like object where someone made a picture of a garden, and behind it is a garden itself. So they have a raised bed garden behind there. And then the actual amount of land they have back there is quite large, and that's why it's well taken care of too. And that's great because these school children have a lot of place to go back there and play. So part of being at school, of course, is to be outside. I'm sure they have a little garden club there that takes care of it, and that's wonderful.
And really quick, before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, if you want to sign up for any of his various tours or find out more information, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltours.org. And there you can find podcasts and videos of the stops on each of his tours, as well as photos and text of the historical sites throughout as well. And for private tours or other inquiries, You can email him directly at bobcat4214, and his tours make for fun and educational outdoor activities for families and group parties. So getting back to our interview, what is the front area of the schoolyard like?
All right, nice area in front of the school, a lot smaller than the back, but the most important reason that we consider the front is because across the street is one beautiful Victorian home that looks to be about from 1900, and then next to is a larger bungalow. So the architecture of the school's front yard has a couple of unique examples. And otherwise, the front of the school is very nice. It's on Hampton Street, and on Hampton Street also there's a largest cemetery in Chicopee called the Calvary Cemetery. And you're at the very southern reaches of Chicopee itself, only 100 yards south, and you're already in Springfield. So this area towards the south doesn't have any residential area, but towards the north it gets very residential, especially because very soon onwards towards the eastern direction you have the side streets of Elms College, and that's heavily residential there.
And what has been added to the Bowe School?
Okay, there's been added a gymnasium and an auditorium and a cafeteria to a side structure. It looks to me like that structure must have been built sometime 1960s or so. And they have a walk-through corridor that goes from the older building over to the new addition. And that's great because you don't want the young people walking out during the snow and the rain. So it's a lot safer going right through there. And there might even be some classrooms in there. I took a peek inside, looks like classrooms. So they expanded everything, and that's great. So this looks like a building that was so well made, you might think, sure, it's 100 years old. But I would say that even 100 years from now, it might be still a public school within Chicopee. And that's wonderful, since most schools nowadays aren't made so well. This one has been. And it's made so strongly with very thick walls, you can tell that. And also a lot of architectural pride went into the making of it. Its front door area is very nicely made. So this is a great place to visit. And you might ask, why don't I have a historical tour around this area? Well, this is the only structure I can think of within a quarter mile or even half mile that deserves to have a tour. So maybe you're going to have to do it on your own and look at the pictures that are on my site, but more especially in the scrapbook that's linked to my site.
And thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours and historical topics of your expertise. And of course, we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And you can check out a large selection of our other podcasts on his website,